Turkey and Syria continue to bear the brunt of the deadly earthquakes that hit the country 6 days ago. The death toll is only escalating, and we are talking about 33,000 people at least who have lost their life. Rescue operations have intensified. It's been non-stop. But remember, time is running out. Take a look at these visuals on your screen. While there are miracle and hope of survivors who are still being pulled out alive 6 days later, but the time is running out. 130 suspects, however, have been detained in Turkey because Turkey is starting to investigate those responsible for the buildings that collapsed due to the earthquake. So while earthquake is a natural calamity, what about the buildings that were poorly constructed? Millions of people have also become homeless due to this mass destruction. Several have started to even flee the country. On Sunday, meanwhile, 7th Operation Dost flight from India reached Syria with over 23 tons of relief material, including gensets, solar lamp, emergency and critical care medicines. So not just to Turkey, but also in neighboring Syria, India is sending its aid. And joining me now is my colleague Gaurav Sawant, who's in Kahramanmaraş. This is the epicenter, literally. Gaurav, I cannot imagine how difficult it must be for you to be reporting. Tell us about the mass graves, that heartbreaking report that you also sent. What are we looking at as a death toll in that mass graves, Gaurav?
The situation in Turkey continues to be extremely grim. This now is the worst earthquake in the history of Turkey in the past 100 years. Last, it was in 1939 that about 30,000 lives were lost. Now, according to officials, the toll is higher than in 1939, and unfortunately, it will rise because the relief and rehabilitation process is yet to start. As of now, the rescue operations still continue. So beyond the 7th day, hope of finding life is very, very less. At the same time, efforts are still being made. Even now, round the clock, heavy earth movers, JCB machines, they're working round the clock with workers to remove the rubble, to sift through the rubble. But unfortunately now, there are more bodies than people being taken out alive. Hope actually going down with each passing day. There is tremendous anguish. There's also anger now on the streets. In fact, the government has arrested a large number of contractors, builders and others associated with construction activity because the government believes this was substandard construction in some localities in the epicenter of this earthquake, whether it's in Kahramanmaraş or at Gaziantep or even in Hatay or Nur Dagi. What you see is some buildings are standing intact and some are completely demolished and destroyed in the quake. So there are some who say that it was substandard construction that led to these loss of life and very, very devastating impact of the quake.
That's also an important aspect looking at it. Maybe a natural calamity, but did it worsen the death toll because of the construction that was made poorly? But also tell us, Gaurav, now that you're covering this area for the past few days, how is the world stands with Turkey, but how is the local administration, the Turkish authorities are dealing with these death toll, homelessness there in the country?
The real magnitude of the earthquake was actually seen at these mass graves in Kahramanmaraş. Graveyards are running out of place and so many bodies and mangled remains have been recovered that JCB machines are working virtually round the clock in a pine forested area on the outskirts of Kahramanmaraş. And India Today was reporting from ground zero. You've seen those images till late at night. JCB machines, heavy earth digging machines, they are actually digging graves and more area needs to be cleared. One of the officials said that at least 5,000 people have already been buried at the epicenter of the earthquake in Kahramanmaraş. But unfortunately, this effort is only half done. Even as several vans, hearse, they would bring mortal remains, they would bring in dead bodies, and the digging would continue by these machines. Relatives were burying their dead. There were more vehicles that were coming in with additional bodies. So the real tragedy continues to unfold here in Turkey, and especially at the epicenter in Kahramanmaraş or in Hatay or in the Nur Dagi area. These areas in the south and central part of Turkey have been worst affected.
Gaurav, stay on with me because I want our viewers to take a look at the report that you sent us a short while ago from the mass graves and actually what it looks like. What does it mean to have a mass grave in Turkey after the earthquake? Here's the report.
The mass graves of Kahramanmaraş in Turkey. The images behind me are mind-numbing. They're actually soul-numbing. Not one, not two, not three, but there are thousands of graves here of people who were killed in the devastating earthquake, and each day, in fact each hour, as more bodies are pulled out of the damaged buildings, pulled out of the rubble, families, the police, aid workers, rescue workers, hearse operators, hospital staff, they all line up here. This place is absolutely jam-packed with relatives and sadly even graves. In Kahramanmaraş, by some accounts, the JCBs, the earth diggers, they're working round the clock to dig more graves. They don't have a tombstone, there is no time. In fact, in some instances, there isn't even a name, there is just a picture and a number of the person who's been buried here. This tragedy is too big to even comprehend at this stage. Kahramanmaraş and Turkey still to come to grips with the enormity of the tragedy that has struck this country. With cameraman Kripal Singh at Kahramanmaraş in Turkey, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
And that's not all. That's just one of reports that Gaurav has been sending us constantly. Now remember, it's about the survivors too, and it's not going to be easy for them. Many of them are homeless. Many are leaving Turkey and seeking refuge abroad because they worry if the situation erupts again. Gaurav Sawant reports you what happens to those who were alive.
We are at the Gaziantep airport and people in thousands are leaving this place. Gaziantep has been one of the worst affected places in this flood, and after day 7, several people say they've either been living in buses like this or in tents. Their houses are completely destroyed. They have absolutely no idea how long will it take for their homes to come up. So the government has announced all those living in the earthquake affected areas and want to leave for safer areas like Istanbul or Ankara or other parts of Turkey are free to do so. The tickets, no money will be charged from people who are living in these impacted areas. They just have to show their identity cards. If they're Turkish nationals, they fly out of here absolutely free, and that is why just look around. This place is packed. Parking lots are full, buses are full. There are thousands of people inside just waiting to go. We tried to speak to some of them and they said their homes are shattered, they are living in tents. They don't know how long will it take for the government to first pull down their houses and then make new houses for them. That is why they're looking for a safer place, a safer future for themselves and for their children. So Istanbul, Ankara, the northern part of the country, the safer part of the country is where they're headed. The government has taken another decision that no longer will they make high-rises in these areas which are in seismic zone 4 and 5. Only 4-storied buildings will be made in future. But that's a long process. It will take time first to pull down all those houses and then start rebuilding 4-storied structures. And once that happens, they say we will return. But till that happens, they have to live and look for a brighter future elsewhere. With cameraman Kripal Singh at Gaziantep, Turkey, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.